Got an interesting repair to do today. This is a Ton Praram Phantom, so an expensive cue. And what's happened is some ebony is chipped out from underneath the badge, and it's been repaired badly. So the owner wants full front splice replaced so that basically there'd be no damage. So it's quite an in-depth job, so we'll have to get the badge out, remove the damaged area, get the socket out, and then plane a flat section ready to accept the new splice, and then obviously make the new splice. It's an unusual cue in as much as it's one of the early ones. Don't know if it's been adjusted at some point previously. I'm not sure, but it's really slim. You're talking like 27 mil, just over 27 mil at the butt, which is really unusual. Nice stiff piece of ash, as you'd expect. It's kind of top of the range for those guys, but yeah, it's nice. So we'll I'll bring you in and show you some close-up shots. So you can see the darker black section underneath the badge there, and basically all that is, or all it looks like, is super glue. So someone's just super glued it, and then obviously there's a difference in colour between the ebony that hasn't been super glued. So it all kind of, what appears to be quite a small repair ends up looking a bit of a mess. So yeah, we'll have to get rid of all that and then replace the front splice. But as you'd expect, you know, you're talking top quality ash on this. Nice, pretty even arrows all the way up. There's titanium ferrule on this one. But yeah, nice cue, just really unusual specs. So we'll get started. There's a few different ways you can approach a repair like this. So we need to get the socket out, because it might be difficult for you to see there, but basically this front splice is sat lower down than where the socket is, so we can't just plane off the top of this ebony because we'll hit the brass. So we need to remove the joint. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this, but brass is soft, so it's easy enough to drill the joint out and replace it with a new one. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do it in two stages. So the first thing we're going to do is drill it with a 10mm drill, which will pass straight inside and remove all the threads that are on the inside. And then from there, we can use a slightly bigger drill bit that'll just take out all of the brass. So it's quite safe to do it that way. And then we'll use an ebony dowel to plug it, and then we'll mark the center so we know where the center of the cue is for when it goes back in the lathe later. But yeah, let's crack on with this and see how we get on. So that's that job done. Joint removed. The joints are just under 12.5mm in diameter. So that drill that just went in there was a half inch, so 12.7. So it's just enough to take out the brass and kind of clean up the hole. So we'll make a little ebony dowel, pop that in, and I'll bring you back. When you've done something like this, it generates a little bit of heat, which can soften the glue that's behind the badge, and sometimes it can be a good opportunity to just push the badge out from underneath. But this doesn't want to move, so my gut feeling on that is that when whoever's repaired it, when they've used super glue around here, it's gone in around the bottom of the badge, and super glue is pretty unforgiving. It's very hard, so it cracks, but obviously provides a really good adhesion as well. So that badge is stuck. So we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to kind of waste too much time trying to pop it out from underneath. We'll just plug the hole, and then as soon as we start to remove this this damaged section, we can do all that with a chisel, and we'll just be able to prise the badge out. You can use a little bit of heat again. You can use a heat gun. That won't do any harm. But yeah, we'll get this dowel put in, and then face the end and just mark where the centre is. Center hole now. And that'll be a point of reference, and then we put it back in the machine. Right, now we can get that badge out and then start splicing. Right, so what we're going to try and do here is just remove this ebony that's around here. There's already a crack in it, so hopefully the repair isn't that good, and this cracks out quite easily. And then if all of this gets removed, we should just be able to get underneath the badge and just prise it out. The badge doesn't look very well fitted at all, to be honest, so I'm not sure if that's been redone at some point. But yeah, we'll give it a go and see how we get on. This doesn't always go as easy as you think, and when people have used super glue is, well, so good at its job that it can be a nightmare to actually to remove it. Get some safety glasses on here because this will splinter a little bit. It's So basically just trying to take a little bit at a time. It'll naturally want to crack around where the badge is. So it shouldn't be too tricky to get the badge out. Just got to be careful, because the last thing you want to do is actually touch that badge. Yeah, okay, that's good. I'm just using the corner of the chisel to just try and be as precise as I can. This is one of those jobs that, you know, on face value appears to be quite straightforward. But there's a lot that goes into it if you want it done properly, because you know, the owner of this, it's obviously someone's gone, oh yeah, I can repair that, and they've just chucked a bit of super glue in it, and really just hasn't done the job at all. But it's much more work to actually get it done properly. But on a cue of this sort of value, I mean, I don't even know what they're going for at the moment, to be honest, but this is an early one. This is number 194. Yeah, this is all super glue under there, which could be difficult now. So we're happy for this to break. We don't have to be concerned about this, because all of this has been replaced, and it'll only split as far as the veneer. Ah, look at that, yeah, so you can see there's a big hole underneath the ebony there. So whether that was naturally present in the timber or not, I don't know. Or potentially, that's what cracked. A big piece came out and someone could only find the small little sliver upon the top. You can't actually see glue on the badge there as well, so that'll be, if it's run down the side of the badge and into the hole, then yeah, this could be a little bit tricky. Doesn't want to move at all there, so we're not going to force it, we'll keep going. There you go. Perfect, no damage to that at all. I don't know if you can see that. We can clean up the outside, so that was all the super glue. And you can actually see, like in the hole there, that all of this is where there was a hole underneath the badge. They've put super glue in there and it's just snuck right under. Yeah. Right, good. That was easier than planned. They can be a nightmare. That came out quite easily. So now we can plane this front splice off and prepare a new piece of ebony to go on. So I'll start to cut this splice now. Just remove the ebony. Might remove the veneer. We'll see if there's any damage to it. Might be able to save the existing veneer. You can see there where it's all split, and there's filler that had been put in previously, look. So what you can see there, this is the that's the ebony peg that we added earlier. So if we hadn't have put that in, that would have, all of that would have been the brass joint. So that's why we had to take the joint out and then fit the ebony plug. That's come out nice. So we will keep the existing veneer and then put the new ebony on top. That's good. Just got a slight change of plan with this one. We glued it up yesterday, but did actually put a white veneer behind the ebony. and planed all of the ebony off the, all of the maple off the existing butt. It was a bit uneven in some places, and right at the very bottom it was particularly thin, so you would have been able to notice that it wasn't original. So I thought it was better to glue the ebony to white veneer and remove the existing veneer. So that's been done. So we'll work it off now. Now this cue butt, I think I mentioned before, is particularly small. So what I don't want to do is work it down by hand and then put it in the machine. I'd like to do as much of this with a plane as possible. So I don't really want to sand any more off the other splices than I have to. If you can get away with losing, 0.2 of a mil, that's kind of okay, but any more than that, and it started to feel really, really narrow. So yeah, next step is just to start removing all the sharp corners off this and just work it down until in the end it's pretty much spot on round. So I'll change the camera setup a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I usually find it's better to start this way and work from butt to tip, and then once you've taken most of the excess off, you can flip it around and work the other way, and then basically the plane is almost following the existing shape of the timber that's underneath, and we'll take bigger cuts off this end to bring it into round. So yeah, you can definitely do this without needing it to go in the machine, apart from like for the very final sanding. This veneer will appear to be a little bit whiter than the ones that are there at the moment, but it's maple, so it'll kind of age to a yellower colour over time, especially once it's been oiled. See the shape start to come in now, and this is how the process goes for adding any decorative splices. Sometimes people get in touch and say, "Oh, I only want like some white veneers in the butt," but it's not as straightforward as that. It's white veneers under an ebony splice. So if you want like a few sets of these veneers, then obviously the time it takes is a lot higher than if you just want a plain ebony butt. Even though the design might look quite basic, and then you can see other designs which look, really striking, lots of different colours, lots of different exotic wood, and sometimes the construction is actually a lot simpler than it is for something like this. So this is pretty much there now. You can see how round it is. I've got the plane set to take a very fine shaving. There's a fraction left to come off it, but probably do that in the machine. But yeah, I don't know if you can see that. But really fine shavings. As long as you've got a nice sharp blade, ebony's nice to work with because it's so fine grained. It cuts really nicely, especially the stuff that's like consistently black. Like this piece is totally black. There's no deviation in grain pattern or grain direction. There's no knots. The idea for this is to basically do all the work by hand, and then when it goes into the lathe, you are, well, taking off the finest margin, you know, it's the finest amount, so that basically you're not taking too much off the existing splices, because there's no way you can avoid touching them. So doing it this way, it means that you've got to do so little work to the new splice that's been fitted that you barely touch the others, and then the cue maintains its original size as much as possible. So we've got this set up in the lathe now, and I think it's close enough that a bit of 320 paper will be enough to get it down to the final size perfectly round. So we'll give it a go. That one there, so it needs a little bit more because you can see at the top there, you can just see the where the veneer is. It's longer than so the veneer has been glued above the flat, so that's always where you'd aim, so you make sure you don't put it too far down. But yeah, nothing wrong with that. Tidy that up, do that with a block, and then that's it, good to go. So that's the major work done for the repair. That's the main construction parts sorted, and now comes the sort of difficult part really, which is matching it as close to the original as you can. So we're at a natural pause point now. I can't go any further until the sockets have arrived, the butt sockets. Thought I had some here, but I didn't. So I'll upload this. This will be part one of the video. I'll upload this, and then bring you back and show you the rest. So just a recap on what we've done. Old socket was removed or drilled out, then we chiseled the badge out, then we had to make the new splice, so cut the ebony, glue it to the veneer, and then obviously plane the old splice away, and then replace it, work it off, and sand it. So really pleased with how it's come out so far. It's you know, you couldn't be any happier with that really. Haven't even lost 0.2 mil across the diameter of the butt, which is what I was concerned about. So that's all good. It doesn't change the weight or the balance in any way. So I'll upload all this now, and then come back for part two, where we do all the intricate stuff. So that's the stuff that makes a good repair or a bad repair. So this stuff that we've done so far, whilst you've got to be accurate and you've got to kind of be careful about what you're doing, it's quite straightforward. Whereas the next stage in the work is the intricate details. So you've got to make sure that the bottom of the butt is chamfered in just the right way. You've got to make sure that the flat is the same size as the original, and the edges of that flat have been eased off like a typical Ton Praram would. Obviously the badge needs to be fitted perfectly. It can't kind of be too deep or too shallow, or you know, it just needs to be right. So once the sockets arrive, that'll be the next step. Drill and put the socket in, and then we can work on the flat. So hope you've enjoyed it so far. I'll look out for part 2, which will be like next week, hopefully. Basically, as soon as the joints come, I can get started on that. But yeah, like, subscribe, and share it around. It's always good to get a few more viewers on the channel. And if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know.